Hey guys, today I've decided to post a video about 10 games I'm interested to play, some of which are coming out very soon and others probably until the end of 2024 or at some point next year. Now, as many of you might have seen during the Summerfest in the Xbox Showcase, the majority of the announcements were either baby games or stuff only safe space allied Twitch streamers are likely to broadcast. So I went out of my way to weed out the garbage and make a list of titles real gamers should be looking forward to, of course with a healthy pinch of caution and no pre-orders. The first game I'll be interested to play is the reimagining of Delta Force Black Hawk Down from 2003. Any particular reason? Well, the movie Black Hawk Down is in fact my favorite film of all times, and that should pretty much tell you all you need to know about why I want to give this campaign a spin in the first place. The other selling point for me is that this particular title is obviously targeting the right audience, and as someone who mostly plays shooters, Delta Force appears to satisfy that traditional single-player FPS craving modern games are so desperately avoiding in this day and age. Bear in mind that I haven't played the original, so I'll be going in completely blind. Next thing after I beat it, I'll try and look up a playthrough of the 2003 version to see if the reimagining stacks up to it, or maybe even improves upon its predecessor. But yeah, first game to keep an eye out for, Delta Force Black Hawk Down, release date to be announced, and even though I probably won't sink a crazy amount of hours in the multiplayer, I'll most likely dip my toes into it just because it's there. My only concern with the campaign though is that Team Jade might go down the route of other peer developers and make it so that you won't be able to shoot civilians, even if let's say eliminating a family of 4 will give you some sort of tactical advantage over the enemy. Still, I don't believe the game will have such level of depth when it comes to gameplay, but I'm ready to give it the benefit of the doubt once it's released. The second title I'm cautiously optimistic about is actually a Chinese game called Mecha Break, which I'm not gonna lie, looks like Armored Core 6 done right and was one of the very few names that caught my eye during last year's Game Awards for that reason alone. But then again, the past 6 or 7 years have been incredibly barren in respect to new IPs, especially higher budget ones, so even a game like Mecha Break, that at least on the surface appears to be a AA title, can easily stand out in the sea of mediocrity and in many cases even utter trash. The gameplay seems exhilarating, very fast paced, almost too speedy in a way, but that might be just me trying to figure out whether the hyper-dynamic visuals are a product of particle effects overuse, or the fact that whoever was recording the gameplay for the official trailer had his finger glued to the dodge button. Honestly, based on what I've seen so far in terms of game mechanics, the evade action almost looks like teleportation, which is pretty awesome. Busy, but awesome nonetheless. The mech pilots have got attractive bodies and nice facial features, which is always welcome, but it's obviously a staple of East Asian game studios. Of course, as someone who started watching anime long before it was cool, I couldn't help myself but to draw a parallel between the pilots' bodysuits and those in Evangelion. I mean, that's literally Asuka. Bronze hair, red outfit. You just can't look straight into my eyes and tell me they weren't inspired by Hideaki's work. And speaking of beautiful characters, just have a look at those individuals. Here are two prime examples of what appears to be people of African descent done right. Like, why do Western studios always opt for the female version of Beetlejuice? I don't get it. It can't be that hard, honestly. Just dial back on the moles and the bug eyes and make something nice to look at. It's just that simple. But I don't really feel like beating the dead horse more than I should. We've all watched those videos, you know, ugly characters everywhere, why woke people are making everything ugly, etc. I'll give Mecha Break a try when it rolls out. The only thing I'm worried about is that there is some kind of an online store in it, but as long as it's not a pay-to-win scheme, I'll be fine with it. After all, it's a Chinese game, so prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Moving on to the third contender in the potential fun-to-play title prognostics, we have Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves, and I don't think I've ever been huge into 2D fighting games. In fact, I don't even remember when was the last time I touched an arcade machine, but I can see two big reasons why this game might appeal to me. In all seriousness though, there is something about the art style and the overall backdrop of those scenes that make me want to remember what it's like to play one of those nostalgia trains and relive part of my childhood memories before I even had a PC. Anyway, based on what I saw from Fatal Fury's trailer, I don't believe many people will complain about the game. Realistically, it's gonna be pretty hard to mess up a 2D fighting game. As long as the combos look cool, there's no way a game like that would bomb. Now at number 4 we've got Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, an action RPG that's focusing heavily on medieval realism. Honestly, telling you why I'm optimistic about this game seems a bit pointless. You can see that for yourself as the footage I provide shows it all. Still, I believe one thing that's definitely worth mentioning is the fact that the developers of Kingdom Come Deliverance refuse to include equal representation in their game, and that's awesome. I can't even count the number of times I played a title that's either medieval fantasy or maybe more on the realistic side and got into a battle only to witness a random sub-Saharan African in knight's armor run by me. It just doesn't work, and I'm glad Warhorse Studios stuck to their guns despite backlash from the Anglophone world. They chose commitment and strong spirit, which might turn out to be the winning formula for them. Also, I'd like to point out that they hired actual experts on Middle Ages history and warfare, unlike Ubisoft who decided to go with their gut for the upcoming Assassin's Creed game. I actually find that really funny, especially when you take into into account that a middleware title is beating a AAA giant in their own game. Kingdom Come 2 is expected to release on the 11th of February 2025, and yeah, I'm ready for the mayhem, I guess. Speaking of medieval combat, the next game I'm actually somewhat excited to play is a collaboration between Torn Banner, the studio that made Age of Chivalry, as well as Chivalry 2, and the guys who created one of the more, I'm gonna say, competent Half-Life 2 mods in 2011 called No More Room in Hell. As someone who's played all those games, I've gotta say that if the developers deal their cards right, No More Room in Hell 2 might become a very strong contender on my personal Game of the Year's list. One of the things in the first game I had a gripe with though was the AI of the basic zombies. It felt incredibly tacky, especially when you come upon a congregation of freaks and they turn towards you at the same time whilst you had them inside your player radius, as if they're one solid entity. Do I think the second installment will have that same issue? Not necessarily. From what I was able to pick from the trailer and the developer's overview, they're aiming pretty high with this game and they seem serious about it. With that said, while I was rewatching the dev diary the other day, I noticed some warning signs, like for example, this particular visual bug. You can see how the zombie's torso was leaning to one side, then all of a sudden it just tilted to the other in the matter of a split millisecond. I reckon the game is still in a very poor state, even more so that the majority of the footage was pre-rendered cutscenes, walking around the map with no NPCs in sight, and a whole lot of talking in between free camera look of the levels. I failed to see the child zombies from the first game as well, and that's a bit disappointing given the fact that they're quite literally the scariest enemy in No More Room in Hell. Those little shits actually gave me quite the fright when I first launched the original source mod, mainly because they're scurrying around very fast, and you had to go from aiming down sights at eye level to quickly snapping to your feet in order to get rid of a couple of them chewing on your shoe soles. Anyway, I have the feeling that both teams have the desire to make a really nice, moody zombie shooter with that same unsettling undertone of the first game, and I think Unreal 5 is just the right pick for the visuals, but at the same time I'm a bit let down they didn't use the source engine, which obviously allows for skill-based movement and overall has much better physics. My only wish is that they don't rush it. It was pretty clear Torn Banner had to quickly put something together for the Summer Game Fest, but if they keep the same energy while working on the game, I'm afraid we might witness yet another Redfall. The 6th spot of my most anticipated games has been reserved for Killing Floor 3. Now, I don't know about you, but I personally think that in many cases franchises start taking a nosedive after their second installment, so in a way, I kinda want the IP to, insert air quotes, die gracefully, but on the other hand, it's just more Killing Floor, which on paper sounds great, it's manly, gory, the music will be banging, although I noticed from the trailer that they went for that metalcore slash deathcore bouncy style of drumming and rhythmic guitar playing, and to be completely honest with you, I don't really vibe with zoomer metal. It's not my thing, I much rather prefer some real shit like fast tremolo picking and moody riffage. It just fits the game better in my opinion, but I guess we have to thank Doom Eternal for popularizing djent in video games instead of real metal music. The release date for Killing Floor 3 has not been disclosed yet. I hope AAA Interactive takes their time with it, because I really hate seeing franchises I care about being destroyed by horrible sequels. Fingers crossed the game doesn't disappoint, but yeah, only time will tell. At number 7 I featured a game that has a very interesting premise and quite a unique art style as well. I'm talking about The Forever Winter, a work in progress made by a studio whose owner is one of the original Hawken developers. From what I know, the gameplay will revolve around scavenging, while trying not to become the main target on the battlefield, which seems a bit weird, doesn't it? And it is in fact strange that enemies don't flock you as soon as you enter their effective range, because in this game you're not their primary target, but rather the opposing warring faction. This can quickly change though if you prove yourself to be a formidable enough opponent and you draw too much unwanted attention. So yeah, I think the game has got potential. That said, I was hoping one could build a giant mech of their own from parts scattered across the battlegrounds, or alternatively be able to take control of a fully functioning one, and maybe have their 15 minutes of fame on the map mercilessly mowing down infantry and armed vehicles. Unfortunately, that's not included in Fundog Studios' plans for their upcoming game, which isn't enough to deter me from giving it a go, but it would have been a nice feature, just saying. Early access starts on the 24th of September, and I believe Steam is currently the only marketplace where you can wishlist it. Number 8. What can I possibly say about number 8? Well, it's an action beat 'em up slash gun 'em up game called Spine, and I remember watching the Summer Games Showcase already giving up on counting all the strong female lead characters, when all of a sudden another female protagonist appeared on screen, but this time around I saw cool animations, bloody satisfying finishers, an actual feminine looking woman, not some ambiguous man-jaw creature, and a combat style that's very reminiscent of the close quarters gunjutsu in the anime Licorice Recoil. I was like, okay, I might have to save this for later. So the synopsis is basically a third-person Mirror's Edge clone, but instead of saving your sister, you're on a mission to rescue your brother instead, who's being kidnapped by an AI-controlled government. All the violent gangs have been let loose, and now they're in your way to stop you from achieving your goal on top of having to deal with government agents. Mind you, the early gameplay teaser revealed a bit of jank in regards to enemy behavior in combat, but if the developers from the Cyprus-based studio Neki achieve even as much as 80% of the motion fluidity from the official trailer, this game will kick serious ass, I'm telling you. Is there anything you should be concerned about? Well, pretty much all of Neki's works are actually smartphone titles, 2 of which are also on Steam, but they're first and foremost a mobile game creator, which is why I believe Spine might turn out to be a tall order for them. Not impossible, but still big enough of a challenge to make them race against the clock. Release date? No idea honestly, but I presume they'll either publish it before November this year so that it can qualify for the Game Awards, or if it's too broken, maybe at some point next year. Unless you've been living under a rock for the past few months, you would know that Valve started making games again. Deadlock appears to be their newest creation, solidifying their position at number 9 as my least anticipated game in terms of what I enjoy playing. However, as someone who quite literally grew up with their titles, Deadlock is also ironically the one I'm most curious about for various reasons. I think the game is currently in closed beta, which means that, for now, only playtesters can run it, but I believe it won't be long before they release it publicly. The gameplay appears to be a mix between League of Legends and every third-person shooter ever made, so yeah, quite a departure from the titles that put them on the gaming scene. Even though I'm disappointed this isn't the kind of game I wanted from Valve, I'll most definitely play it when it drops and give my 2 cents in the form of a review. And last but definitely not least, on my wishlist is the remake of a game I really wanted to play when it released back in 2012. I'm talking about Lollipop Chainsaw Repop, of course, a title which sadly never reached the PC market, and as some of you probably know, I've never owned a console of my own. I think the only proper gaming hardware I've had besides a computer was an old NES when I was little, but I pretty much missed out on every Xbox and PlayStation iteration throughout the years, and by extension also quite a few of their exclusives. The original game came out at the tail end of what I believe is the golden era of video games, a time when I was still excited about new releases, but due to my location in the country of Europe, buying an Xbox 360 was more so a waste of money than a smart investment. All that aside, I think it's pretty obvious why I wanna play this game. It's just everything one could wish for in entertainment software. It's ridiculous, it's got pop culture references in it, there's plenty of viscera, and of course, a character that everyone recognizes even if they don't know her name. Also, judging by the developer's words, I assume they're the type of guys who'd actually love to play a game like that if they themselves weren't the ones making it. Just the average gamers, going in for some fun gameplay and hot chicks without giving too much thought about LGBT, diversity, and all that nonsense that's being pushed onto us on a daily basis. I reckon Stellar Blade's success gave a lot of people the confidence to reintroduce hot women in video games, and that not all is lost despite the negative feedback from a very small percentage of the human population, which sadly has been plaguing gaming for quite a while now. Lollipop Chainsaw Repop is supposed to release very soon on September 12th, and I'm not gonna lie, this might be the game I'm most excited about out of all titles I've mentioned so far. And yeah, I'll review it, why not? So these are basically all the games I'm looking forward to playing. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button, a sub will be greatly appreciated, and you could also leave a comment about your personal picks from this year's gaming shows. I reckon a lot of you are hyped for the new Gears of War, but they showed exactly 0 gameplay, so I don't have anything to hold on to, which is also the prime reason why I didn't make the list. Anyway, I think now's a good time to end the video, go play some good games and stay awesome. I'm out.